Welcome, my beautiful woman, to an episode of Lingerie and Lattes. If you don't know who I am, I'm Olivia Drumaga, and I founded Vulcanability so that women can understand how to have self-intimacy before they go and connect with their partners and be able to build a flourishing, thriving relationship that's passionate, intimate, and filled with honest communication. These episodes in this series is a lot more about my own perspective, my own philosophy on relationships, monogamous in particular, and how we can really use the tools that are available to us to enhance the romance between a woman and a man. So this brings me to my little drawing, which is going to start us off with the topic that I want to talk about today. So within a relationship, there's two people. There's the man, there's the woman in the relationships that I talk about. And we want that a little bit of that duality. We definitely want that not tension, but the tautness that comes from each person being in their essence. And then above that, or kind of around this idea of two people building a relationship, there's a structure that I kind of imagine as this larger house above two people. Which brings us to this point. There's the woman, there's the man, and then there's the structure. So the structure that they have built is meant to house something that's going to be created. So that could be kids, that could be a garden, that could be a wonderful animal family, whatever the creation is, there's something that becomes larger than one person when two people come together in a relationship. We can understand that as an absolute truth. So what I want to suggest is that this house needs a strong foundation. But this house is also not going to be upheld on its own without maintenance. Now, we usually think that the maintenance has to come from the two individuals that are building this house, right? But in reality, what I want to bring in as my philosophy here is that the maintenance should not come from the two people. The daily maintenance can and it needs to be executed on a physical level, but the overall management, the protection, the signaling when something is off, let's say if you're thinking about a physical house and your pipes are broken, you're going to find that out because somewhere it's going to be leaking or something is going to be messed up, and then you have to go figure out what caused that mess and then take care of the thing that's broken. So daily maintenance would be actually going to figure out what is broken and then fixing it. So that's something that these two individual people are supposed to do. They're supposed to maintain the house as much as they can. However, spirit is the thing that metaphorically leads to the leaks, leads to the burst pipes, leads to the ant infestation in your house or whatever, so that there's something that's already been causing a little bit of discomfort in the relationship, but maybe it's just been sliding under the radar. And when there's an issue that shows up, typically the thing you're arguing about is the surface. That's like the first outer layer of what you feel comfortable discussing with your partner, and you feel comfortable going back into the patterns of nitpicking the same behavior that you've always been nitpicking, versus the real issue, which needs to be addressed under the multiple layers of arguments that could be happening. So if we take the example of burst pipes, if you just go clean up the spill of, let's say it's a water pipe that burst, that's not going to resolve the problem, because The next time somebody takes a shower in your house, they're going to leak again, and you're just going to have to go back and clean up that spill. So then you take another step forward. You're like, okay, well, I know I have to repair the pipe. Potentially, yes, you can repair the pipe. However, what if you use just a little bit of duct tape? And what it really needed was two bolts holding it together so that it wouldn't come apart again. If you go for that duct tape solution, once again, it's going to wear that connection down, that like joint section, and then eventually it's going to fall apart again, and you're going to have another spill up to clean. So this is the same with a relationship, this metaphor, because in life, we want spirit to be invited into the relationship. We want spirit to guide us and signal us when something is off, and we do want our pipes to burst if there's an issue that has been sliding under the radar. The reason we want that is because we cannot move forward if we don't deal with what's here. Many times people want their relationships to look differently than what they are right now in some degree, whether that's a little bit more intimacy, whether that's a little bit more honest communication, whether that's spending more time just being together, whatever it is for each partnership. There's potentially a sense that you can always improve and do better. Now, the only way we can achieve a betterness is if we step down and off the podium and remember that we're really not the ones guiding anything. We're the ones taking up the action and picking up our responsibility along the way, such as recognizing what our partner's needs are and providing them to them willingly with compassion and openness. There's the ability to check in with your partner if you know that they're not really feeling well, to ask them like, hey, what's up? Or can I do something for you? Maybe I can draw you a bath. So all of these actions we can take to nurture our relationship, there's always going to be another area where we want to expand in. And that's actually an invitation for spirit to step up and show you maybe what that is or what can be tweaked again. So my reasoning for sharing this beautiful picture is that a lot of the times we believe that these two people are the ones that are the ultimate decision makers and the ultimate people in control. And a lot of relationships do operate in that manner. There are many couples where a woman and man don't ever discuss anything with themselves, or they constantly work on just the spills when they happen versus checking into the pipes, or they keep arguing that they should just be using duct tape because it's cheaper than spending a little bit more money on bolts, which would eliminate the issue completely. I'm speaking here in metaphors. There's not a particular couple that might be arguing over bolt prices. Maybe there is. But my point is that a lot of the times when we want to grow in our relationships, we forget that there's a much stronger and more humble path to take. So we can either fight where we are or feel really disconnected in our partnerships, or we can just turn to spirit and have that internal dialogue started and get some clarity. And what that could mean is whether maybe you just need to have a conversation with your partner and the words will come to you in that state of meditation because you've asked the question first to spirit and asked for assistance or asked to be shown how can you improve XYZ. And I want to keep bringing this up because we are now in a culture that doesn't really see the value of bringing in a spiritual presence into relationships. And everything's a lot more 3D. It's a lot more physical. It's a lot more based upon physical intimacy and lack of emotional connection, a lack of emotional depth. A lot of people avoid relationships because they know they're supposed to be going deeper, and it's unavoidable. When you're living with someone, that you really love and you're creating a family, there's going to be, or you're in the process of even thinking about having a family, there are always going to be subjects that one of you deem uncomfortable that have to be brought up to the surface and addressed. And if we are not able to step up to the plate, our relationships will suffer, because the only way a relationship can move forward is with honest communication. We cannot take it for granted that our partners are reading our minds. And it goes both ways. Neither of us can read each other's minds, no matter how psychically connected we are and how spirit is going to guide us in every way. There are situations where you don't know what your partner is thinking. And including assumptions into your relationship before understanding is really what causes you demise in a relationship, because it breaks up trust. It eliminates the universe from your relationship, because now it seems like I know what you're thinking, I know what I'm talking about, you don't know anything, you need to learn from me because I know how to do things. And there's no better lesson than to be humbled in your relationship, because there's no escaping what you've been hiding from. In a relationship, the other person is your mirror. So whatever is frustrating you endlessly, there has to be something that's being triggered within you. And doesn't have to mean that you do the exact same thing, but maybe it reminds you of something that you experienced, and then your reaction in that time was very anxious. And so now every time the word gets brought up or the sensation gets brought up, you immediately just fall back into that memory. But having self awareness is going to be your number one friend in any relationship. And having communication is what is going to drive a relationship forward. But without spirit and without recognizing that the entire structure wouldn't be standing if it wasn't for spirit, it's silly, because then you want your flowers to grow if you've planted a garden, or you want a baby to come if your desire is to create a family. But you're not going to receive your desire if the house is unsafe for a child, if the soil is too toxic for the plants. They're not going to grow. And the way we nurture our house, the way we safe kids friendly, safe it, and prepare it for what we are desiring, is through a level of trust in ourselves and in our universe, and a giving up your relationship to the greater power, to the higher consciousness, because ultimately you don't have any control over where it's going to end up. And that is the scariest part. And with a culture that's deemed so much emphasis on immediate gratification, physical intimacy, all those things, it's almost like our greatest fear is that there's no way they're going to last. There's no way this person is going to want to spend their time with me, or they're going to find something out about me and all these things are going to happen, or we're never going to be able to have a conversation about this, blah, blah, blah. But what I also want to toss in here is with your connection and understanding that spirit is the guiding force of this greater structure, those worries are no longer your own, and they don't have to cloud up your mind. Your mind is then freed to show me how I can be clear in my understanding of this relationship. Show me how I can receive a more loving partner. Show me how I can, etc. So I hope this has been educational. Happy, beautiful day, and I will speak with you all next week.